Good morning. Today is the 23rd of April 2024 and I'm going to go through my watch list and my levels for today. As always, before we start, let's take a look at today's news to see what could be moving the market. Nothing before market. We have PMI at 9:45, so that's in 15 minutes after the open, and new home sales at 10 AM, 9:45 and 10, so we may see something move, and that's it really. Nothing of significance until after the market as well. Earnings today as well. Who've we got? Visa, Tesla. After hours got Pepsi. Just before market open, as already reported. So these are two big ones, so just like to have a look. Okay, so let's pick up some levels for today. Let's, as always, start from the weekly, just to recap what we've got. So you can see the weekly came down into the 50 moving average and kind of broke through, close below it, and we're now closing above the the 20 moving average, the weekly 20, just the blue line, and we've had 3 down weeks, and we can expect a bit of a pullback where it can get to. You can see it bounce off our weekly level we had, which is this area of demand, which was supply, and that was the previous all-time highs until we broke through it a few weeks back. And you can see it came down, bounced, so kind of in that area. So let's go down into the daily. Okay, that's better. So we've broken through the 50 moving average, the 20 moving average on the daily. Coming back up, we're retesting the 8 or 9 moving average, this level here. And where can we see expect to go? We've got this nice bottom tail candle on volume as well, so potentially it's a change of trend. We can put our trend line in down there. Quite a steep trend. You see it's broken, we're now above that trend line. Probably, yeah, let's join those together. And we can probably expect it to pull back a bit, maybe up into the 50 moving average. We've got a potential area of confidence around here as well. So let's mark that up on the daily. Let's make that a weekly red so we know where we are. So we've got tops of candles, bottoms of candles, so that's a potential target we could get to. Oh, let's get rid of that. So potentially we could see it pull back up into the 20 moving average and the 50 moving average, and it's an area of confluence. Not much volume before there, but it does come into volume above. So now that's the daily, so let's look at the hourly so we can see where we are with the extra lines we put in. So I've got a few levels. Firstly, you can see we've broken this 4-hour hourly trend line and holding above it. So we've got this trend line coming down, we broke it, came back down, retested it yesterday. So it's looking, we're hovering over this. Let's just draw in that, make it slightly wider. So we've got this area here, which is kind of our neckline or our break and retest area. So we broke through, came back, retested it, and pushing up. So I do quite like the long over pre-market high. Not sure about taking a pre-market high break and retest, but maybe yesterday's high, because I don't want to go long into resistance really. We've got a lot of resistance. You see here, you can see we've got bottoms of candles, we've got tops of candles as well. So kind of a big area of resistance. So I can potentially see us pushing up into this area and then maybe holding, going sideways or coming back to the trend line. So my first level for today, which I'm watching, will be 5077 for a break and retest. I will keep an eye on pre-market high, so maybe 5065 So these are the two areas to watch for. Let's just mark that as well. And we will use our hourly. But that'd be a higher risk, like I said, because we're coming into resistance above. I don't really like the long above 50, 65, 50, 67, but we can watch it. If we pull back into this trend line again, then I may consider a long, and that will give us a bit better risk to reward. For bounces, if we come back down into this area here, so 50, 36, I'll be watching for a bounce, which is the pre-market low area. And that's only if we can stay above this trend line. So we need to hold this trend line. So we come down into that, I'll be looking for a bounce long. So the next level is 50, 36 long for a bounce. And we've got this 50 moving average, which is downwards, starting to curve over as well. So potentially off of the 50 as well. And if we see a big sell-off, then the levels we were watching yesterday, so yesterday's low, we can watch for a bounce as well at 5,000 area. And then rejections, the only rejection I like is this level here, where we've got an area of confluence, and that's at 50.90 for a rejection. And we can potentially watch up to 50.10, 50.12 as well for rejection up here as well. And that's it. That's it really for ES. Levels are not brilliant, so I'll keep an eye and watch for break of trend and confirmation with my trades. Next up is SPY, which is very similar to ES. So I'll just quickly summarise these levels I'm watching. Kind of watch for a bounce down at the 499 area, 499.30 maybe. This level here, bottoms of candles, tops of candles. There's an area of resistance. We came in, even though we bounced from it already in the pre-market and yesterday, we can watch that as a high risk bounce. If we break over the pre-market high, yesterday's high, we can watch for a long break and retest. Kind of, I would like it to see it break over, come back down towards this trend line for the long, same as ES. And then rejection wise, we could got 503.50, 503.42, this area here for a rejection. And we've got bottoms of candles and tops of candles. There's an area of confluence. Potentially we can watch this area as well, 505.72 for a rejection as well. That's it really. NASDAQ. You can see we've got this trend line, which we've broken, came back. So again, I prefer this for a long. So I'm just going to make an adjustment, only because pre-market and yesterday's high is quite close to each other. So break and retest over 17,450, and then let's get rid of that. I quite like the rejection up here if we can get up there. And that would be 17,700 for a rejection. If we come down here, I quite like this. You can see this like left shoulder, head, right shoulder pattern. I quite like the bounce on the right shoulder, left shoulder, this area around 17,200, and it could come back and retest this trend line. And then let's draw one more trend line in. Depends how you want to see it. We've got the breakthrough, the breakdown and bounce, but it's kind of holding that trend line as well. So if I were to take in the most recent pivot from the pre-market, we can watch for a bounce if we come back down to pre-market low as well, and be coming off of this area of confluence here. So let's just mark in, but I'm not a big fan of this level. 17,282. Okay, so let's look at Qs, exactly the same. I won't draw the lines in. We can watch for break and retest of 420, 421. So we've got break, retest, long. Kind of like this area here for a rejection. So 430 to 432 rejection area, and then a bounce down at yesterday's low. This area here for a bounce. SPX, we're still watching 5,000, that's the key area. We've gapped up today, so we'll be above the 5,000 mark, be around here I imagine. If we come back down into the 5,000, we can look for longs on ES, or we can watch for it to break down, come back, retest, short. Let's look at the daily on SPX for a second. So below the 50, kind of touched the 8 and rejected it yesterday, but we're going to be up here when we open around 50-50 area. I quite like the rejection off of this weekly trend line or the 50 moving average, so we can watch for it up here at 50-100 to 50-120, that area. Gold, so this is the weekly. Let's look at the daily. Let's go back to weekly because there was a level we were watching on the weekly. So look at that, it's coming right into the area we're watching for a bounce. So we've got a couple of areas. We've got this area. Let's make that a weekly. And kind of this pivot area here. You could watch the top of that area there. I prefer if it does come back down to here. There's a couple more touches. No volume. So the best area for a bounce will be if we do get back down into this area here. So I kind of want to see it come back down and retest the 250. So let's go into the hourly. You can see we kind of held this weekly level on the hourly and then rejected. Couldn't quite get over it. We've got another weekly level coming up. A few areas. Let's just draw in the trend line. You can see we're breaking that trend line, putting in a bit of a, potentially we could be looking at a left shoulder, head, hasn't put the right shoulder, potentially a right shoulder if we see it put one in. If it pulls back down, retest this trend line up, we can look for a long on the break and retest a pre-market high on creation of this right shoulder. Otherwise, if we break out today, come back, we can watch for a break and retest a pre-market high, and we can watch the bounce down the pre-market low area as well. That's it really for gold. Crude oil on the daily, putting that nice big day, kind of holding below the 20, kind of jam between the 20 and the 50. So let's see which range we break. We can look for the break and retest of the high of 82 or the break and retest of the low of 80. So let's go into the hourly and look at that. By going down tunnel, you can see this head and shoulders pattern. You can kind of see one here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, take a pick, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, so potentially we've got this neckline area here. A break and retest a pre-market low I quite like, or if we can rally, then a break and retest off of yesterday's high, I think, with first target pre-market high, and then that. So let's just put in an alert. Put a level in, let's change that to hourly. And then is a good tip for trading view. I haven't been doing it, I just realised I could do that. Select a line, press Alt A on the keyboard, and you can put your alert in. It attaches the alert to the actual line rather than drawing in separate lines. Makes the chart a little bit tidier. Qs has just crossed one of my levels. Let's have a look at Q. Just having the alert come up for Qs. Oh, okay, that's just an area I'm watching. Okay, that's it really for crude oil. I'm watching for the break and retest short. Potentially, if we rally, we can watch for a breakout up there. RTY. again, we've broken the trend line, a bit like ES doing the same, so we can watch the same thing. If we can break out over, we have to break out of yesterday's high, pull back, retest. The reason for that is we've got the 200 moving average, and that's resistance above. We've got a pivot there, we've got a pivot there, we've got the 200 there, so it's quite a lot. So for us to even consider a long, I would want to break, retest, and then go long, purely because of the extra resistance and the 200 we've got above. As for a bounce, you can see this head and shoulders pattern, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, one of these, you can say that one, and then the neckline is that in the middle. Close that. Yeah, hard to go long into the 200 moving average, but break and retest of that area, or a bounce off the shoulder line, which is 1961, and the break and retest area is around 2000. Okay, YM, which is the Dow Jones. See, this looks nice, better. I quite like the break and retest of pre-market high. That area, maybe yesterday's high, with a target up here. We've got this area of confluence, tops of candles, bottoms of candles. So a break of 38,630, maybe pre-market high. You can watch that when we open, but probably best to get above 38,681, which is yesterday's high, so there's no more resistance above, and we can ride it up to the next level, which will be this area at 38,886. That's it really. Or we watch for a bounce if we come back down into this area here. I've not drawn enough, it's fibs. Okay, like the 50% is roughly the area we're watching anyway, so we can watch for a bounce around the fibs 50%, which is this area consolidation, and about there. So look at bottoms of candles, tops, and then right down the middle, and then bottoms of candles. And just look at that volume as well. We've got big volume in that area as well, so we can watch for a bounce around there. Quite like that for a bounce. And then just look at Bitcoin, see what that's doing. So we talked about yesterday heading up towards this 50 moving average. Exactly what we got to, touched it and then it's rejected. Exactly what we said yesterday. Keep an eye on that. You can watch for a bounce if we get back down to this area, or hard trying to reject it because it's so strong. Or me personally, I'm waiting for it to bounce if we come back down to this area. Not sure why that's so big. So if we get back down to this area, I'm watching it for a bounce in this area, probably 50,000, and then I'll wait for 40,000. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at ES, see if anything's changed. Nothing, we've just pushed up a little tiny bit. So to recap today's levels on ES, I'm watching a break and retest of yesterday's high. I don't really like pre-market high because I think it's a bit too close, higher risk. If we can pull back down into the pre-market low or this trend line, we can watch for a bounce around here. So that's 50.36 bounce. I think that line's a little bit high. Let's just move it down a bit. This area here for a bounce. Looking for a rejection, ideally up here. 5112 rejection, 5100. Potentially with this area of confidence as well, so we can watch this area for rejection as well, 5090. And if we sell off, then I quite like the bounce around this area here, and that's at 5,000. At 5,001 is the number I got drawn, but it's the 5,000 area, and that'll be off of this trend line. And as we've seen quite a few times, we draw these trend lines in, and then the market flips, so they're kind of uses that end of the trend line as well. So even if it's bearish, it could still use that trend line, which is why I've still got it there. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, always helps out. And also stay tuned, because next up is the live stream of order flow, which looks a bit like this. It doesn't look nothing like that because I've not loaded it up yet, so that's my next job to do. Okay, so stay tuned. Go back to my YouTube channel and you'll see the live stream for live order flow, and I use that extensively to find areas in the market where it's reversing. It's a great tool. Okay, thanks for watching.